First and foremost, I have to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to me talk about BIM 360 and everything that could possibly help you in your day-to-day activities on working on projects or being involved in projects. And so today I'm going to get started. We're going to go through PowerPoint slides as a big picture, and then I'm also going to do a hands-on demo live. And so again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the questions pane in the GoToWebinar panel, and at the end of the webinar I'll address those questions. Today's topics are basically going to cover three different things. I've grouped them into three categories really. Is what is AutoCAD to Revit, that transition, and what's the difference between them? What is the A360 story? And last but not least, the BIM and facility management side of all this. Next is AutoCAD to Revit. What is AutoCAD and what is Revit? Most of you who are on this call already are already familiar enough with AutoCAD, but let me tell you about Revit. As you know, AutoCAD is Computer-Aided Design Drafting. That's what it stands for, and it replaced the pencil and T-square. Yes, I'm old enough to note how to use the T-square and Mayline. It's lines, arcs, and circles, and flat. As you know, in AutoCAD, you have to know what layer you're on and what CTB setting you're using, and so on and so forth. And it's just a pain in the butt, right? In Revit, it stands for Revise Instantly. Instead of drawing with lines, arcs, and circles, you're replaced with objects. These are three-dimensional objects. You have libraries of all these objects. Most of them are free online. Some of these are also can be built as parametric designs, which means they're changeable. So if you have, let's say, one door, you can install one door into your project, and that one door has different sizes. It can be a single, a double. It could have window panes. It could have push bar, panic bars, kick plates, etc. It's information rich, and that's in BIM. BIM is a lot more than 3D. For those of you who hadn't seen it before, on the left you have CAD, right? Your typical drawings, all the different flat drawings. Those same drawings in Revit are a three-dimensional object. That is the eye in BIM. It's not 3D. The 3D is really just a byproduct. It's all the information inside of it. So for example, which one is smart, I ask you? On the left-hand side, here's a typical drawing, and I might ask you, what does this look like? It's a 2x4 light fixture. Many of us have drawn them hundreds of times. The information inside of it just tells you what layer it is, and pretty much the overall size. The same thing within Revit. If I place a light fixture in here, in this case it's a 2x2 light fixture, it has all the information. When I click on it, out of the box it has all of the parametric values, the load values, any information that I want to attach to it for spec writing. All that information is built right into it. Included in Revit are what's considered a live model. These are live views. In just a little bit, we're going to take a look at this project. This is a project I actually worked on, and you'll see how I was able to really turn on and turn off different things to understand how my building was being put together. That way I was one up on the general contractor on making sure I had less issues with collisions. A better coordinated drawing. What is Revit? Change it once. The idea here is in the center of Revit is change it once. When you change it on one thing, it changes the schedules, the plans, the elevations, sections, and 3D views. But what's dynamic about this is if you change it in any of those areas, it changes it in all of them. So if I change something on the plan, it changes it in the elevation, so on and so forth. In this little example here, I'm going to show this little preview video to show exactly what this workflow looks like. In this idea, in this screenshot here, you'll see in the top left-hand corner, going around clockwise, I have a door schedule. That door schedule is associated to a smart door in this workroom. Notice the door number is wrong. Okay, we'll look at that later. And then it has a 3D elevation, which helps the client understand what this space looks like. And then finally an elevation. Any change to any one of these views will have an automatic effect to the other views. Again, it's one file, one model. And this is an AutoCAD. This is Revit. So let me go through and show you this brief little video. Over here, we're zooming in on the workroom 143. Again, notice the door number. It doesn't match that. So someone came in and marked the door number the wrong way. But what I need here is an additional door in this workroom. So simply what I'm going to do is go into the plan view, select this door right here, the one that's being identified in the schedule as well as a single leaf door. And what I'm going to do is insert another door into the floor plan view. And watch what happens. First I need to move it, and look, it adjusts in the elevation and in the 3D view. Also the tags move with it. Now I need to add another door to the other side. Simply by mirroring the other door, now I have two of these doors. Notice that I've highlighted them here. The door itself is smart enough, it already has a door tag. That door tag information is stored within the door. The tag itself just reads the information from the door and automatically adds it to the door schedule. Notice here 142. I'll change it to a different type of door to match both of these. When I do that, it makes the change here. For example, in the floor plan in the schedule, I change it to door 151 and it'll change. Over here to door 148, 143, B, and the top one I think I'm going to go ahead and change that as well. You'll notice the elevation changes to 143B as well. And there's A and B. Now I can simply swap out that door for a different door style, just like that. Over here, now we can see that we have a coordinated set of drawings. Again, this is change it once and it happens everywhere. This is the power of Revit. A real-world example is this over $1 million project that we were fortunate enough to be invited to help a mechanical engineer work on the University of Alabama. This particular project was required by the university to be done using BIM. All the different consultants had to develop all their models in Revit and ultimately deliver it in Navisworks. The general contractor, along with the engineers, were able to make sure to analyze and look at this building before construction to make sure to reduce errors and omissions. In the end, this was a live model generated and given to the university for having a live model for facilities maintenance. Now, let's talk about projects. Projects are even more complex than ever. This whole building information modeling, it's more information than it was 20 years ago. All the geospatial data, the legal data, the designer's information, the owner data, all of this information is now inside of our models and being required more and more. How is that achieved? Through things like Revit and also all of the add-ins. Autodesk has these different applications that are add-ins into Revit, BIM Glue, and you'll notice, for example, these here are three different phases that we've identified: pre-construction, construction, and then commissioning. The items that are in yellow are going to be the ones that we're only going to focus on. Since this is a particular seminar for facilities management, this is where we felt that it's really important: docs, field, and building ops. You'll notice that each one of these applications basically spans the life cycle of all the different phases of construction. From documents to field to building ops are the three that we're going to focus on, which takes us for pretty much covering the entire spectrum of the project. Now, let's talk about how we currently collaborate on our projects. When we receive a project, we receive them via email. And how do we collaborate? Sometimes we send emails back and forth, or we put it on something like SharePoint, or we put them on our network drives and give access, which involves IT, or we put it on some type of basic cloud storage, Dropbox or Box. Now, The problem with that is, why should you replace all of these with what's called the BIM 360 toolset? Well, simply, let's look at email. Emails, when you send them back and forth, the data is not centralized, and it's difficult to find, and you have to hunt through your different emails to find different projects. SharePoint, it's incredibly expensive and complex to run and difficult to track information. Network drives, this is the most commonly used one, but it's also hard to share and access outside the office. It's expensive, it's hard to maintain, and you also constantly have to organize it and look for the latest, greatest server. You always run out of room, you have to get a new server, there's UPS issues, there's interruption of power. Then there's basic cloud storage. The problem with basic cloud storage, such as Dropbox and Box, is that it's not built for the design process. It is not part of the environment of your design process, either in AutoCAD or in Revit. Also, there's no model viewer or no access to this data, plus no way to review the information. How is that conceived in a newer way? Using the Autodesk products, you have what's called project concentric design. All of those tools are basically removed and created by using A360. A360 Tools gives you everything in one spot live on the web. You have the ability to look at it live on any device, including an iPad or Android tablet, Windows, PC, Linux, any kind of operating system. Included in that is the most extensive 2D and 3D viewer. What's great about this is, as an end user, you might not have access to Navisworks, AutoCAD, Revit, you name the plethora of different applications. The viewer built into A360, for example, is able to read and review and mark up over 50 different file types. So a single one of those, you just need access to the web. Next, you can understand the data and workflows by clicking on those objects. Built for distributed teams, that basically means that we have the ability through the interface, and I'll show you in a little bit, on how we can make these comments on these over 50 different file types. And design markup. We can take a look at specific objects and mark those up for the design team. Now, let's talk about the three different points of add-ins that might help you in your workflow. BIM Docs, BIM 360 Docs connects the entire construction project team from beginning all the way to end. What this means is, instead of using your email or, let's say, Dropbox, all of your design construction information is stored on the cloud. It's easily accessible by any device that has connection to the internet, including an iPad, an iPhone, Android, Blackberries, whoever still has those, or Windows phones, or your good old-fashioned email, or I should say web interface. This gives you anytime, anywhere access to the whole project. Next, let's talk about building ops. You see the guy here, he's not actually laughing, he's very frustrated. He is trying to find a piece of information of a mechanical unit and trying to find information about it. We'll see how this is handled in just a minute. This basically is handled through an application called Building Ops. It's mobile first maintenance. What does that mean? That means that all of your people on your team that are out in the street and in the buildings have the ability to use their smartphone to basically look at any of the objects in real time and manage them, manage the information. When was the last time they were maintained, or if there's a part that's missing or broken, where to get that information. It connects to the BIM 360 field asset data. The information is stored on the cloud and accessible via the phone or your computer. Let's take a look at a short little video from Autodesk on what this looks like.
Are you a general contractor who wants to provide a better handover experience for your customers? Or a building owner looking for a software solution that serves the needs of your mobile workforce and helps you begin operating your new building on day one? If so, Autodesk Building Ops, a mobile-first maintenance and asset management solution, may be what you are looking for. With a simple and elegant design, Building Ops places BIM asset data in the hands of those who need it most, or managers, technicians, and building occupants. Building Ops is organized using a dashboard metaphor that provides role-based, contextually relevant information in a way that is immediately actionable. Speech-to-text conversion, automated ticket and asset categorization, and the capture of photos and videos speed data entry. Notifications alert occupants and technicians when tickets are updated or assigned. On your iPhone, you can integrate Building Ops with the Today view, providing quick access to a summary of activity. Exporting equipment data from BIM 360 fields makes operating your new building on day one a possibility. Scheduled maintenance tasks and reusable setting up a preventative maintenance program easy. Building Ops helps provide for a better handover experience and helps you begin operating your building on day one by connecting BIM asset data to those who need it most.
Pretty cool, right? I hope you enjoyed that. I got to tell you, it in real life is really just an amazing workflow. Next, let's talk about how some of these really work in real time. Just as your smartphone has all these different apps, maintenance and Building Ops go hand in hand, and there's a company here that I'm going to show another little video called PanoramicPower. I came across them at a show, and basically these little orange devices, in just a moment you'll see, they have what's called predictive maintenance programs. In other words, these little devices, you'll see in just a moment, clip onto electrical circuitry and power on any of your devices from your circuit panel. It draws live information so you can see and maintain your utilities live, and you can see if there's something that's going on, if the energy spikes or there's low voltage. You can tell before there's an issue that there's something going on, called predictive maintenance. And it's super, super easy to do. Let me show you this little preview video of PanoramicPower, and this is just one sample of a company that plugs into Building Ops. And here it goes. Enjoy.
PanoramicPower's enterprise energy management solution consists of a real-time device-level energy data collection platform and a powerful cloud-based data analytics engine. Our snap and fit sensors are easy to install and are highly scalable, ensuring a simple deployment for immediate real-time monitoring of energy consumption at the device level. Our business process consulting and proven implementation methodology helps ensure for a seamless implementation. Installation starts by identifying the devices and circuits to be monitored and mapping them into the system using our deployment tools, which control and manage the installation process of unlimited endpoints across multiple sites. Our unique, miniature, non-invasive, self-powered and wireless sensors enable organizations to quickly and cost-effectively collect real-time energy consumption data for an unlimited number of individual loads within a facility. Each sensor has a unique ID that is matched to a physical circuit. The sensors are easily installed on all panel boards within the facility with a simple snap and clip, and without disruption or the need to disconnect any wires. Various sensor types are available, current ranges and wire sizes, and dozens of sensors can be installed and mapped in less than an hour. The bridge is mounted close to the panel boards and immediately connects to the internet. The bridge communicates the energy from the sensors every 10 seconds via Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular connectivity. The sensors are self-powered through magnetic fields that surround the wire, and they never require maintenance, service, or battery replacement. Once the bridge is connected and the panel boards are closed, reception from all sensors is verified. The RX LED on the bridge will blink when a sensor message is received. You can then activate the system dashboard and start receiving invaluable energy data. Set up energy alerts, reports, and explore the data using our cloud-based analytic tools. PanoramicPower, snap and fit, easy-to-install sensors that provide unmatched device-level energy intelligence and visibility.
All right, thank you, PanoramicPower. Now, let's get into BIM 360 team. This is my favorite part, BIM 360 Team and A360 Drive, and exactly what is it and how can it help your workflow. We're going to take a look at briefly this A360 interface. Everything that I've showed you before are plugins into this different A360, let's say, environment. The A360 interface includes projects that are accessible via the web, a live activity feed. For those of you who have ever used Facebook, you're familiar with this activity feed of just comments back and forth. These comments are live and part of a record set, so you can find out who said what and when. Next is alerts. You'll notice over here the little alert in the orange is an icon that basically alerts me to messages that I haven't read yet. This is without having to go into Outlook. I can just go right into here. Also, as a project administrator, I can create new projects right here from this interface very easily. Next is the application switcher. What you'll see here is that we're in what's called A360, or what's called now BIM 360 Team. By clicking on it, I can switch from A360 to A360 Drive. The A360 Drive is similar to Dropbox, but with a lot more functionality and built for the design world. In this case, I can click on a file within A360 Drive and review it. You'll notice on this set of drawings here, this elevation, I can basically go on the right-hand side and make comments. Once I make a comment, everyone on my design team will automatically get notified of these comments, and they can reply back and forth. Now, let's take a look at the product comparison. The differences between A360 Drive, BIM 360 Team, and what's called Collaboration for Revit. In a nutshell, the A360 Drive is free to everyone, and you don't even have to have be an Autodesk customer. You could have this across the board. BIM 360 Team is a paid subscription, and that subscription includes the ability to review and mark up and download project files. A360 Collaboration for Revit, which I won't demo today, is the ability to work on what's called a central file in Revit. For those of you who are working in Revit projects, you know that you have the ability to work on your project inside of your office. Then what you can do is, instead of saving to your own server or to your own computer, you sync it to the cloud. You're able to then collaborate with others anywhere in the globe, anywhere where there's a Wi-Fi access. The A360 Collaboration for Revit allows everyone to work on the same model in different project, different teams, anywhere, anytime. This is also a membership that can be paid monthly, yearly, in a subscription. For more information about pricing models for this, please reach out to Linda. And if you have any technical questions, also reach out to Linda and she'll get a hold of me. Next, let's talk about this product demo. Right now I'm going to stop the PowerPoint presentation and minimize this and go right into the A360 application. So I'm going to open up my browser over here. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Now, what we're seeing here, and hearing is my dog, sorry, is the A360 interface. So this is live. What we're looking at is using Google Chrome. I have the ability here to basically come through here and take a look at different projects. In this case, using A360, or now called BIM 360 Team, I have all of these different projects that I'm collaborating on. In this case, let's take a look at this C4R 2017. Next, I'll go ahead and click on one of these projects. Now, this Revit file is actually shared along with my other project members, all my engineers and architects and consultants, and any changes to the model that I do here, any comments that I make. For example, when I click over here on comments, I can add comments, take a look at any of these drawings. For example, floor plan views. I can come over here and look at the exterior elevations. When I do that, it opens up the exterior elevation view, and right here with markup tools, I have the ability to add comments. So for example, if I add a comment on this point right here, I'm going to say, please review with structural on this. It looks too tall. And I click on post. Now what happens is that this information, you'll see it has a review number 1. Also, everyone on my design team now automatically receive this email. They'll be able to reply back, and when they get this email, they can basically click on the hyperlink and it'll take them right to where this icon is. And we can go back and forth. At this point, I can also do different type of sharing. You'll notice over here I can share this with other team members, even outside of the project. I can do what's called a live review, which basically is everyone looking at one monitor at a time, and everyone has the ability to basically be crowded into one little space, into your cubicle, looking over your shoulder, looking at your project altogether. This is really, really helpful when taking a look at projects when you have team members spread across the globe or maybe even across the city. Next, we have the ability to download it. So at any point in time, I can download this Revit file to my own desktop to work on. Coincidentally, I can also launch Revit and just go right to the cloud version and continue to work on this. Okay. Next, if we come back over here and go to our ATG, over here I can go to my A360 drive. When clicking on A360 drive, you might say, Rick, but we have OneDrive, we have something else from Amazon, we have Dropbox. They're all wonderful for regular applications, but not for the design community. The design community, for example, in this case, I have the ability to take a look at projects. And over here, for example, I have my projects where I can store any type of file, Revit files, AutoCAD, PDFs, cut sheets, JPEGs, you name it, and they're all accessible to team members who I allow. I can also restrict their access to basically review only, share only, or not be able to download or download. That same project that we were looking at over here, for example, I can click on a project and the same thing without having to have Revit. I can go to any device, my iPad, be anywhere, and take a look at the model. So as I'm about to get on a plane, for example, I can review this model. I can come over here and take a look at the sheets and start to mark up this model. I can take a look at the existing construction documents anywhere and basically start to mark these up. When I get back to where there's a Wi-Fi area, let's say I'm flying from here to LA on this project, and en route I decide to review my drawings instead of watching that movie. When I land in LA and get back into a Wi-Fi area, I synchronize automatically, and it goes and it synchronizes all my comments, so now everyone's up to date, and I can also retrieve comments from my design team. Okay, that's a little preview of A360. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's go back into the PowerPoint. Last part, part 3, BIM and facility management. Why use BIM? BIM in your projects gives you the ability to transfer data from your construction process into a living, breathing model, as well as spreadsheets. These typically large-scale projects, $10 million and over, generates over 56,000 pages of documents. Imagine 25 banker boxes just to hold all that information. Instead, all of that information can live on the cloud on your computer where it's accessible from anyone, anywhere. Now, how is this done? It's using BIM and increasing your FM value. This significantly reduces the time transfer of getting your information in your fingertips from paper into a digital format. Provides a full system services on day one, and also eliminates what's called polylining. Far too often I see FM, facilities maintenance or managers, get a set of record drawings. They're in AutoCAD or they've already been plotted, and then they have to do what's called polylining, which means getting the AutoCAD file, the plot and basically scanning it in at some large reprographics place and then tracing over it with just regular AutoCAD lines. The information is completely lost and you're doing nothing more than digitally transferring lines into a flat line work. With Revit, you have the ability to take it from day one with smart information. This is done at different levels. We have 4 different levels of facility management levels. We have the as-builts, and these are what's digitally given to you. Next is then tagging. In level 2, you have the ability to tag this equipment and require the general contractor to tag all of the information with QR codes. Each one of these are now brought into your Facility Management Information System, or FIMS, and that's at level 3. Next, the last level, level 4, gives you the ability to operate these systems in a two-way active environment using such applications as building ops. Now, how is this achieved? This is achieved not only by requiring BIM, but using something called the Project Execution Plan. For example, this is a real project that we worked on, that I worked on, that I was able to assist the University of Central Florida on creating their PXP. Over here are some sample sheets of project information and requirements, goals and uses, information exchange, all of the information level of development that is essential for getting the information correctly right from the beginning when you acquire your drawings. Now, this information goes out during the RFPs process and the bidding, and that way all the general contractors and architects working on this project or projects know and understand exactly what is required by them by having something called this PXP. Included in this is also COBie. For those of you not familiar with COBie, COBie is what gives you the ability to tag all these different thousands of pieces of information of parts within your building with a distinct omni-class number. It's like a social security number that each one of us would have, but imagine your building having social security numbers on every little thing, and it's automatic. The only thing is now any of those tags or IDs just need to have a QR code associated with them. Now, how can this be done? This can be done through Revit, through BIM, Building Ops, and A360. This will give you better coordinated designs, optimize your performance, streamline construction, and enable BIM operations. Now, I hope I gave you a little taste of the now and the future possibilities of facilities maintenance. Next, I'm going to give it back to Linda to talk about what's next. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. I do have a couple of questions, but I'll cover these slides and then we'll circle back around to these questions, okay? So hang with us. All right, so what's next? In 2013, the use of educational licenses for facilities management was no longer included under educational pricing. And in 2014, Autodesk made the entire portfolio of software free for educational purposes. As a result, educational facilities customers now need to purchase or subscribe to a commercial license to use Autodesk software in their department. And we're pleased that that Applied Software has served educational customers for over 30 years, and we have a department that's prepared to help you make this transition to commercial licensing. Next slide. The world is changing and so is Autodesk, and some of you from the commercial world may be familiar with this. The classic way to buy is perpetual license with a maintenance plan, and this ended on July 31st for commercial customers, but government customers have been extended for a limited time. So if you are a public institution, in a school, please get in touch with me to talk about purchasing perpetual licenses while they're still available. So there's also a new way to buy, and I want to cover that as well, and this is pretty exciting. You will be subscribing to Autodesk products, and if you're familiar with Adobe and some of the other big software companies, a lot of companies are moving this way. It's really what our customers want. You'll still have the same options as you did with the perpetual, having a single user and a multi-user deployment. You can purchase the product in an annual or a multi-year option. And I put the pricing options up there, and so the perpetual license is 5x for the perpetual license plus 1x every year for the maintenance plan. It's kind of hidden by the box there. But the subscription is 2.5x every year, and the X stands for, the X will change depending on what product you get. So just to kind of give you an idea of where the pricing is moving, and the reason that I bring that up is because for government customers, if you are looking at purchasing licensing for your department, let's go ahead and look at these perpetual licenses to keep your costs down over the long term. Next slide. All right, so a little bit more about subscribing to Autodesk. Is it a good thing? It makes it for a simplified customer experience. As I showed in the little pricing chart before, lower upfront cost, and you'll pay for your Autodesk products and cloud services for the amount of time that is right for you. It's going to allow you to stay up to date and protect the value of your existing investment. And one of the best parts is you'll have access to a broader portfolio of technology. Next slide. All right, so oftentimes I'm asked this question, whether you buy a perpetual plus a maintenance plan or you become a subscriber to Autodesk, these are some of the benefits that you'll be getting. You'll get automatic upgrades, you'll get predictable budgeting, you'll have flexible licensing rights, you'll have extended territory rights for global use, and you'll have access to additional cloud services and analysis tools. So Rick today talked about some of the cloud services that are available on a paid basis. Please get in touch with me to talk about what comes on a free basis with your licenses. All right, here's my little brag board, some highlights of our university client list. We're very proud of working with these clients in the last year or so. I'd be delighted to talk with you at your university about the kinds of projects we're doing for these folks. This is just a highlight list. And then finally, I wanted to talk about our partnership with DLT. Applied Software and DLT is the master government reseller with an Autodesk partnership in the public sector since 1996. And you can see some of the details here, and DLT has assigned a specific representative, Donald Hashagen, and there's this number there if you've got questions. But we'd like to work with you and DLT, and that's how we are able here at Applied Software to provide pricing. Next slide. All right, and just finally, are you using Autodesk educational licenses in your facilities or other business units on campus? Anything that's not teaching or learning with students is considered a commercial need. So one of the steps to get there is to review your product usage and determine how many people work at the same time to determine whether you'll need single user or multi-user access, and review the tasks that people currently do with the products, especially in design and construction and FM, and try to lean towards BIM. Take advantage of the limited time remaining for the purchase of perpetual and plus maintenance while it's still available. This is where the best savings is right now, and we'd be delighted to talk with you. We've got a whole team here at Applied Software ready to be at your service. All right. Now, please go ahead and put any questions up in the question pane while I'm talking, but I've got a couple of them here. And let's see. Rick, you talked about A360, and you kind of touched on the type of documents that can be used. Can you get into what kind of documents can be used in A360?
Absolutely. Thanks, Linda. Basically, this comes up as a tech guy, and I teach Revit as well as how to use the software within A360, and it comes up all the time. The matter of fact is that a lot of people are still using AutoCAD and Revit together, which is fine, and that's actually one of the ways that I teach as a hybrid of using AutoCAD and Revit. If you'll notice earlier on, I had A360 and then another tab for A360 Drive. On A360 Drive, you can upload all different types of files and formats, from PDFs to JPEGs to Revit files to CAD files to SketchUp files, doesn't matter, any kind of file type. But on the A360 tab, that's project specific, version specific, and can only be Revit files, no AutoCAD files. So what does that mean? If I'm working in Revit as an architect and I have a AutoCAD file that is linked in to my Revit file, I can't see that AutoCAD file using A360. I'll get the Revit file, but what has to happen is that AutoCAD file has to be downloaded and brought into my local environment, my own network, and then linked from my local network into my A360 project, because A360 will only view and be able to work with Revit files. So great question.
All right, fantastic. Now you kind of touched on this in your answer here, so I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit. A lot of different when you're in facilities management, a lot of the different contractors and subcontractors and architects that you work with are on different versions. How is that dealt with in A360?
Okay, great. So the different versions, again, if we go back to the A360 versus the A360 drive, on A360 drive I can have any version of file that I want to review through the web. The moment that I'm looking at A360, and that's basically accessed through Revit, it's version specific. So basically what does that mean is, if I'm working in Revit 2017 currently, that means the project I'm looking at needs to be in Revit 2017, and my engineers and consultants all need to be on Revit 2017 as well. There's no saving backwards in Revit. So again, working in Revit is not backwards. You can't save down. You have to be in that current version, and basically everyone on the design team has to be working in that same version. Now the caveat to that is A360 Drive, which enables you to just look at the models online but not work at them together. So A360, they have to be the same version. A360 Drive can be any version. Clear as mud?
All right, good. Right, clear as mud. All right, so here's an interesting question from one of our participants today. From a contractor's perspective, are people spooling out piping or plumbing for prefabrication with Revit?
There is. There's actually some applications called BIM cars, and that basically goes down to the conduit but not to the wires, and actually there's BIM cars enables you to use wires and basically lay all these wires inside the conduit within Revit. So out of the box you can run conduit quite easily, and the conduit will just have any kind of information inside of it, whether that's electrical or hydraulic. And then to get to the cables themselves, there's another application called BIM cars, which is a whole nother ballgame. You can reach out to Linda. We can have reach out to you and have separate conversation about BIM cars, and that is for cable access runways. That allows you to run the wires. But that's a great question.